The asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs also triggered one of the greatest mass extinctions in Earth's history. But did life really end at this point? What happened to the planet after the impact? And why did some species survive while others didn't? The answers might surprise you. This is Beyond the Extinction, the story of how dinosaurs changed the course of life on Earth forever. This is the largest known impact crater on the planet. It stretches over 180 kilometers across and is nearly 20 kilometers deep. But it wasn't always here. It was created when an asteroid 6 miles wide slammed into Earth approximately 66 million years ago. Its impact caused massive earthquakes, tidal waves, and a cloud of debris that blocked the sun. Plants died, the ocean's food chain collapsed, and within just a few years, 75% of all species were extinct. It was truly catastrophic. Yet scientists believe that life somehow found a way to not only survive, but thrive in the aftermath. So let's explore the remarkable discovery of dinosaur embryos, which have revealed the day they died. Then we'll travel back in time to the asteroid impact and see the effects of one of the most extraordinary events in our planet's history. Finally, we'll find out what really happened after the impact and how the world began to recover. In 2017, a team of researchers led by paleontologist Wendy Ceratops uncovered a remarkable fossil site in southern Alberta, Canada. It contained dozens of dinosaur eggs, including several clutches preserved in their nesting mound along with hundreds of baby dinosaur skeletons. Some of these nests were only a few feet from where other dinosaurs had nested 76 million years earlier. To make this incredible discovery, Wendy and her team excavated a massive 15-meter trench, carefully brushing away dirt and rock to reveal the fossilized remains. At first glance, they appeared to be ordinary fossils. But upon closer inspection, they realized something astounding. The bones had been mineralized at such a young age that they could actually see the cartilage between them. It meant the embryos had died suddenly and before they were fully formed. Many of the eggs still contained tiny teeth, tiny skulls, and even tiny ribs. They were so well preserved that researchers could clearly see the indent left by each baby dino's foot on the surrounding rock. One specimen stood out among the rest. A single embryo lay perfectly preserved inside its egg, complete with its skull, jaws, spine, and even its tiny tail. It had been a sauropod, the same family as the famous Diplodocus and Argentinosaurus. At the time of the impact, this particular dinosaur would have been about 15 feet long. When they analyzed the rock layers above and below the nesting grounds, the scientists discovered that there was only a thin layer of debris from the asteroid impact. It meant the dinosaurs hadn't been killed immediately. Instead, they'd survived for weeks, or perhaps months, wandering around a dying world until they finally perished. If they knew what was coming, why didn't they try to hide? Why didn't they flee to safer ground, or perhaps build sturdier nests to protect themselves? It's a question that scientists are still struggling to answer today. With the help of computer tomography scans, Wendy and her team took a peek inside some of the eggs, without even cracking them open. They could see the skeleton of a horned dinosaur called a Centrosaurus, complete with its beak, nostrils, brain, and even eyes. Looking closely at the eye sockets, they spotted tiny air sacs connected to the dinosaur's lungs. They looked similar to the air sacs found in modern birds, which function as both respiratory and skeletal support tissue. But wouldn't baby dinosaurs need oxygen to breathe? If the asteroid had blocked the sun, then surely there would have been no light left. And if there was no oxygen, how could the dinosaurs have survived for so long? Well, the answer lies in a study published in 2023, using advanced techniques. Scientists studied plant fossils from the Cretaceous period and determined that flowering plants had already taken over the landscape by the time the asteroids struck. These plants had a significant advantage over their competitors. They used a unique chemical process to capture carbon dioxide directly from the atmosphere, rather than relying on water to transport nutrients. It enabled them to grow faster, flower more prolifically, and produce larger seeds, which then grew into huge forests. In fact, there were twice as many flowering plants in existence by the end of the Cretaceous period than there had been at the beginning. And because they released oxygen as part of their photosynthesis process, they helped saturate the atmosphere with breathable air. So when the asteroid struck, the dinosaurs weren't met with darkness or suffocation. Instead, they saw a sky filled with bright yellow smoke, heard the rumble of distant thunder, and felt the heat of a scorching summer day. Little did they know that the worst was yet to come. A tremendous explosion lit up the night sky like a massive fireworks display. Rocks rained down from the heavens, and enormous waves crashed into the shore, flooding the shallow seas and wiping out coastal life. The asteroid had landed in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, and it sent shockwaves around the globe. It was the size of Mount Everest, and weighed as much as 4 billion elephants. Its impact unleashed 40 trillion tons of rock and vaporized limestone, shooting it high into the atmosphere. For weeks, a thick layer of debris blotted out the sunlight and temperatures dropped dramatically. The global climate cooled by 6 degrees Celsius, and the delicate balance of life was shattered. In the ocean, microscopic phytoplankton that formed the base of the food chain died off. Without light or warmth, they sank to the bottom and decomposed. This in turn led to a collapse in the population of zooplankton, which fed on the phytoplankton. Larger animals like fish, sharks, and marine reptiles soon followed. Meanwhile, on land, the reign of the dinosaurs was drawing to a close. There were simply too many obstacles in their way. For example, plants could no longer photosynthesize, so they couldn't produce enough food for herbivores. And with no vegetation, the herbivores starved. The carnivores then turned to cannibalism before dying themselves. Some species managed to survive the initial impact, but they faced a whole new set of challenges in the aftermath. Take the mosasaurs, a group of large marine reptiles that resembled today's monitor lizards. They were forced to cope with rising sea levels, as well as competition for food. Eventually, they went extinct. Only a handful of species survived the impact, but they struggled to adapt to the dramatic changes in their environment. Birds were among the dinosaurs, but they evolved into a completely different group of animals. Mammals, on the other hand, experienced a population explosion. Small proto-wombats and proto-whales thrived in the warmer oceans. While these creatures were ancestors of species we recognize today, the same couldn't be said for the dinosaurs. Their descendants simply didn't survive the transition. So why did some animals die out while others made it through? Scientists believe it came down to a few factors. Body size was one of the most important. Medium-sized creatures like mammals were better survivors. Smaller animals required less food and could reproduce more quickly. Meanwhile, larger creatures needed lots of food to survive. But not only that, they take longer to give birth, which means fewer offspring. Take the mammals, for example. They gave birth to 11 times more babies per year than the dinosaurs, meaning that if a disaster struck, they had a better chance of passing on their genes. Another key factor was mobility. Animals that could walk, swim, or fly easily were better equipped to escape danger. This is why birds, fish, and insects fared better than large, slow-moving dinosaurs. Finally, it comes down to adaptability. Species that could change their diet, move to a new location, or tolerate a wider range of temperatures were more likely to survive. That's why mammals, insects, and birds are still around today. They were able to adapt to the changing world, yet nothing could have prepared them for what came next. In the aftermath of the impact, molten rock from the asteroid rained down on Earth, igniting vast stretches of forest. A fireball twice the size of the moon blazed across the sky. Trees were scorched, giant animals burned to death, and entire ecosystems collapsed. The temperature rose dramatically, and for decades, rainforests stretched from pole to pole. Yet after all this destruction, the world began to heal. Grasses returned to the landscape, small shrubs grew, and eventually full-size trees replaced the ancient forests. Insects buzzed from flower to flower, and mammals scurried around their feet. Life returned to the oceans, too. Microscopic algae bloomed in the warm waters. Fish swam through coral reefs, and birds soared overhead. Over millions of years, mammals evolved into humans, and eventually we began exploring the world around us. We uncovered the secrets of the past and learned about the dinosaurs that had roamed the Earth. We also discovered the remnants of the asteroid impact and the truth of what had happened here. Today, we stand in awe of these ancient creatures and marvel at their incredible journey through time. We remember the dinosaurs not only for their size and power, but also for their resilience and adaptability. Despite the challenges they faced, they persevered and thrived until the very end. Their legacy lives on in the fossils they left behind and in the stories they inspire in our imaginations. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the amazing dinosaurs and the world they lived in. If you want to learn more about our fascinating planet, stay tuned for more updates. Till next time, keep exploring and stay curious.